Hello again, thanks for choosing us. Now, government is fighting back accusations that state oil company GNPC has caused financial loss to the state to the tune of 1.5 billion cedis. Parliament Mines and Energy Committee interrogated GNPC management over a gas supply deal with Gensa Energy, which has been criticized as causing financial loss to the state. According to civil society groups Imani Africa and the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASEP, Ghana buys gas for $95.8 million and sells to Gensa at $43.5 million. Now, I'll give you details emerging from a meeting between the Mines and Energy Committee and GNPC and government. But first, this is what we know so far about the deal as far as the work done by GNPC, well, Imani and ASAP is concerned. So Imani says careful work by analysis, the Africa Center for Energy Policy, and of course Imani has revealed that Gensa operating profits may be heavily dependent on Sweetheart's public and unpublicized deal that has been signed between the GNPC, whereas it pays a fixed rate of 2.79 MMBTU, that's the metric million British thermal unit, for the natural gas it gives from the Ghana Oil Company. So the civil society groups insist that, well, the company over the last 15 years has done so well, but a lot of its profit is attributable to the state, to the Ghanaian state, and that they are making profit at our expense. So how did we get here? Well, GNPC says Imani Africa and ASEP actually says that there's some evidence to suggest that GNPC's Sweetheart deal came after attempts to woo Ghana Gas, the national gas company, and Gensa had been less successful. So they started from the Ghana Gas Company, but after unsuccessful attempts, went straight to the GNPC and logged a deal. Now, the potential losses to the country are on the order of $1.5 billion over the life of the contract, or $100 million per year. So what do we know about Gensa? We are an energy solution provider based in USA with operations in Africa. We currently operate in Ghana and also have early stage projects in Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea, and we are actively seeking to expand our operations across the African continent. This is what you find on the website of Gensa Energy when you go there. It says we build, own and operate distributed generation installations and natural gas distribution infrastructure, selling power and natural gas to mines, industries and utilities. So it has all those details on its website when you go there, talking about its operations. Now, this is what Vice President of Imani Africa, Bright Simon, said when he first made the revelation about this deal.
In 2018 April, Ghana Gas decided to do a transaction with a company called Gensa in Ghana. Ghana Gas holds Ghana's gas in trust and sells it to do business on our behalf. So they were going to give them gas. They were going to put it in their power plants. They were then going to sell power to big mines and some cement companies. It's as simple as that. The price that was negotiated was dependent on whether or not this company had to be classified as an industrial consumer or as a non-industrial consumer. But whatever it be, it will have been between $7.3 for every unit of the gas and $6.5 for every unit of the gas. That was what Ghana Gas was going to do. So Ghana Gas then wrote to the Energy Commission to try and understand these people that they are dealing with, this company. Do they have a bulk license? Can they be a waiver? Because the company kept insisting that they want the gas cheaper. And then the Energy Commission said, no, there's nothing we see here that should lead us to do any discount. So sell it to them the way everybody else is buying. You know what they do? They then decide that, okay, if Ghana Gas is going to prove whatever, okay, we just go to GNPC, which at that time, because of changes in policy, was the main gas aggregator in the country. It collects most of the gas on our behalf. Can you believe that? GNPC did two contracts with them. The first contract in 2020, and then they changed the contract in 2021. And eventually, the amount that they are selling the gas for is $0.57. And then there's a processing tariff, and then the pipeline tariff and things like that, which I don't want to go into the detail, but all of it, if you add up, does not get above $1.7. This was something that just 2 years or a year and something and a half ago, another Ghana government-owned company was willing to sell for between $6.5. But here's where it gets interesting. Even if if you didn't know anything about these numbers, you can look at what are the price of gas during that period in the world. There's a place in Louisiana where we call the Henry Hub, a hub called the Henry Hub. And that place is, has a pipeline, and a lot of the transactions on the New York Mercantile Exchange. And that's where they get the pricing from, because people that buy it is the third most actively traded location. So when you get prices there, you can use it in your own transaction all over the world.
But the Deputy Minister for Energy, Mohammed Amin Adam, who spoke to journalists after the meeting, said the CSOs are misleading the country with their claims.
The agreement between GNPC and GENSA, which is the subject of public interest, I think that it is important we understand it. Some of the headlines you read are not factual, and they do not help. When you have done analysis, so-called independent analysis, you need to put it against the facts. And the only way you can get the facts is to talk to the institutions that are involved. Otherwise, it can be misleading, and people will form an opinion on misleading statements. And this is why I am very happy that Parliament has shown interest in this. Our Parliament is a very responsive Parliament, and the Committee of Parliament, the Mines and Energy Committee, has met with GNPC and the Ministry of Energy, who provided all the answers they want for the questions relating to the allegations that have been made by Imani and Asad. And we know that they are going to scrutinize this agreement, and the questions we have answered, the answers are going to be put to test. And then in due course, the nation will be informed as to whether what we did is in the interest of our country. Such headlines can be misleading. When you say that Ghana is losing 1.5 billion, and the analysis doesn't support that, then you are misleading the public. And so it is important you talk to the agency involved so that they will open the books to you. And GNPC is ready. They are available to open the books to whoever has concerns about that agreement. The fact that they are here explaining to Parliament, means that they are not afraid to open the books. Parliament is a representative of the people. And so if we can open the books to Parliament, why not the public?
Misleading. That's the conclusion of the Energy Ministry on this deal. We'll be speaking shortly to the Executive Secretary of the Africa Center, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Ben Boakye, there on your screen. But before we come to Ben Boakye, the minority spokesperson on the Mines and Energy Committee, John Jinapo, says it's too early for government to seek to clear GNPC of any wrongdoing.
Just had a very long session with GNPC. We've asked a lot of questions, interrogations. Some have been answered, some are pending. We've asked for some information that they couldn't provide at the meeting. And so we have directed that GNPC should make all those informations available to us. The financial analysis underpinning the agreement, the analysis in terms of the investment decisions. We're also aware that Ghana Gas is deeply involved. And so we've decided that we ought to summon Ghana Gas to also appear before us. I am clear in my mind that there are some institutional overlaps and there are some turf war issues that ought to be addressed with. And so clearly, the committee would interrogate this matter to its logical conclusion. Our duty is to ensure that we get to the bottom of it. Our duty is to ensure that the state is not shortchanged. And I can assure you that we will do everything within our capacity to get to the bottom of this matter and to ensure that the ordinary taxpayer is safeguarded. And so it's too early for the minister to draw such conclusions.
Let's go now and speak to Ben Boakye, who is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Thank you very much, Mr. Boakye, for your time here on Joining Us Prime. So we spoke to the chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee, Atachia, who described your work as too adversarial because you failed to capture the response of GNPC in your analysis. Let's start with that. How do you respond to that?
No, I think, thank you, first of all. I don't know whether I'm the only one who got the impression that, the Honorable Member of Parliament and the Honorable Minister were just reading headlines and not the analysis that was done. And because they kept referring to headlines and not the data, the hardcore numbers that were generated based on the contract that has been signed. Unless GNPC denounces the contract, I mean, it is up to anybody who can do basic analysis to pick that contract and analyze the contract without going for peer review from GNPC. And that's essentially what we have been doing. Civil society has been doing this, saving the country billions. Go back to many contracts that we have intervened on. So, I mean, it's a suggestion, but we have not erred in the way we work, and we will continue to protect the public interest doing the kind of analysis that we do.
His point about misleading the public is the fact that you did not seek further clarity from GNPC in doing your work. Would that be correct?
No, but GNPC can always clarify. It's a public conversation, all right? It's a national interest we are looking for. If GNPC has any clarification, they would have come up with it in the public. And I dare say that they are struggling to do that. I've seen a presentation they made to Parliament today, and it's laughable that Parliament seems to think that that was convincing. Because that is contrary to what is even in the contract that they have signed with GENSA. And I would have wished that, you know, the minister and the honorable members would have compared the presentation that they did to what is written black and white in the contract. And what does the contract say? You have a contract that says that they're going to sell gas to GENSA for 2.79. And at the time they signed the contract, the market price for gas, which has been approved by a regulator, there is only one regulator in the industry, PRC, was 6.08. So the gap there is about 3.29. It is not difficult to calculate that. If you multiply that by the contract period, you know, by estimating the discount that they are providing, you arrive at the numbers that we are putting out. It's not difficult to do, all right? So it's interesting why anybody would say we are misleading the public without generating their own numbers, multiplying the discount by the volumes of gas that we are going to give to GENSA over the period. And what is even curious is that it is the same gas that Ghana Gas was selling to the same company, GENSA, at $6.5 per MMBTU. How does GNPC get into an arrangement to use the same pipeline and sell the gas at 2.79?
Now, Mr. Boakye, beyond what you find on the face of the contract as causing financial loss to the state, do you find certain individuals, state actors, complicit in this who are directly benefiting from this deal? Is that something you have unearthed?
I mean, we wouldn't rule that out. And from what I'm hearing, it tells you that it goes beyond even GNPC. We may have to look at, you know, complicity with, you know, government officials beyond GNPC in this matter. Because you can't meet GNPC 2 hours and not go into the contract itself. They do a presentation and present justifications that are different from what is in the agreement, and Parliament says it is okay with that.
Which government officials, can you put names to these individuals you suspect may be behind this?
No, we don't have any names, but I think, I mean, government coming out to support this, I mean, they will have to keep justifying and who were the elements that approved this transaction. I mean, on the face of the contract, you know that the chief executive of GNPC approved it. There were letters that were flying from the ministry initially taking Ghana Gas off the transaction, disallowing them from selling to power companies, for which reason GNPC took up the responsibility and discounted the gas for GENSA. So there are a lot of things to unpack from that angle to actually see who is complicit in this. But the bare truth of the matter is that if you read the agreement, page 8, you can go look at it. It tells you that they are discounting the gas, all right, by 3.2. Let me, if I can be even more specific with the agreement, it says that it's discounted by 3.29 for the existing infrastructure. Right. When they extend the pipeline to other areas, they further discount the gas by 4.36, and these are in the contract. Right. So why is Parliament?
But Mr. Boakye, already we are seeing government put up a defense to this. Parliament is also looking into the issue. What will you do as civil society? You work with Imani on this. What are you willing to do?
They called the media into the room, right? And you had the opportunity to interview them. And I think that is where the questions could have come much more specific on what discounts, are they giving?
Well, this was a closed session. We only had the opportunity to speak to the actors after the meeting.
So I think the conversation has just started then, and we need to interrogate them further for them to come clean on the numbers that we are seeing. Because it doesn't really make sense for us to discount the commodity that we are buying at a premium. I mean, the same GNPC is buying gas at $10 per MMBTU. And they had to sacrifice the royalties of Ghana. They had to sacrifice their own participating interest to be able to bring down the cost of the gas, to achieve the $6.08 per MMBTU. How then do you discount the gas for a competitor of other state agencies? Because mind you, you have VRA also generating power with gas at 6.08. And then we give gas to a private company at 2.79. How does VRA compete with such a company? And that is why they have lost all their contracts with the mines.
But have you put this analysis before the Mines and Energy Committee?
I didn't catch that.
Have you given your presentation, your analysis of this deal? Have you presented it to Parliament?
We haven't had the opportunity to meet Parliament. I mean, they invited GNPC and accused civil society of not consulting. They could have also consulted if they really wanted to even understand the analysis that we did.
And so you're willing to make an appearance? You're willing to make an appearance if an invitation is extended?
We're happy to appear. But beyond that, it is our duty to engage the citizens of Ghana to show that over the contract period, they are going to cost this country $1.5 billion as a subsidy for the private company. If you look at the total damage that they are causing the whole industry, that even goes to about $3.6 billion, because GNPC itself, in its proposal to PRC, says that the actual cost of gas should be 7.9. And this is black and white in their own document. So if GNPC believes that the cost of gas should be 7.9, how then do they discount the same gas for 1.72 for another company?
Well, let's see how this goes. The minority has indicated they will need some more time to be able to come to a conclusion on this issue. We'll definitely be following this, and we'll return to you, Mr. Boakye, for some more as we interrogate this issue. I'm grateful that you could join us. That's Ben Boakye, the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Let's look at...